Hi, I'm Chris Bond, and today we're going to learn about navigating digital resources. Much like everything else in the world, medicine is continuously evolving. There was a time when we had to rely on textbooks and our brain for absolutely everything in medicine. Now we store more and more of our information in a peripheral brain, our cell phones, laptops, or other devices. It has become much more important to know where to find information, rather than to memorize every detail. There are a ton of digital resources available out there, and it has come to the point where it is overwhelming. Whether you are looking for a suggestion on what antibiotic choice to make, the utility of a screening test, or how to repair a laceration, there is a resource for you. The real question is, how do I keep up with all of this? How do I organize it? And how do I store it for quick reference? There's a famous emergency medicine doctor named Joe Lex. To quote Dr. Lex, "If you want to know how we practiced medicine 5 years ago, read a textbook. If you want to know how we practiced medicine 2 years ago, read a journal. If you want to know how we practice medicine now, go to a good conference. And if you want to know how we will practice medicine in the future, listen in the hallways and use foam." The primary digital resource I'll be speaking about is foam, or free open access medicine. There are also paid sites such as Dynamed, UpToDate, and many others, although I won't be spending time on these. Also, many of the resources will have an emergency medicine or critical care focus. This is because emergency medicine tends to be on the cutting edge of foam. The founder of foam is actually Hippocrates. As a peripatetic father of medicine, he traveled and translated his knowledge. Foam is the idea that we should have medical education available for anyone, anywhere, at any time. This is not an idea that has changed in the past thousands of years. It's both a collection of resources and a community. It is independent of platform or media, whether this is blogs, podcasts, Twitter, photos, Google Hangouts, Facebook, and so much more. We must learn to filter and choose from these resources, and digital tools have been developed to help us do this. Foam will make you a better clinician and a more effective educator. Another reason to become savvy with foam is that our learners are using it and using it often. A 2017 study of Canadian emergency medicine residents showed that 90% of residents are using podcasts each month, 86% are using blogs, and 71% are using video resources. A 2014 study by Mike Mallon showed that 70% of emergency medicine residents felt podcasts were helpful, while only 54% felt that textbooks were helpful, and 36% felt that journals were helpful. If our learners do not feel something is helpful or are not invested in it, the chance of it being successful is very low, with the converse also being true. Thus, we must become foam experts in order to help guide our learners to quality resources. So how do we deal with this information overload of the 300 plus blogs and podcasts that are now available? We need to sift through this and have some type of organization. The first resource I'm going to talk about is high-quality, curated blogs. There are multiple benefits to multi-author curated sites. By decreasing the workload of individual authors, there are more frequent posts, leading to increased readership and therefore increased crowdsourced peer review. There are many resources on this page, but I'd like to highlight two. First, Life in the Fast Lane is a curated site run by two of the fathers of foam, Mike Cadogan and Chris Nixon. It highlights the very best of foam worldwide. There's daily content, but also a weekly summary selected by a group of respected foam content producers. They include topics from emergency medicine to pediatrics, toxicology, and also medical education. Academic Life in Emergency Medicine is the second resource, and this is an amazing group of academics, which includes many US and Canadian residency program directors. They publish content daily on a range of topics that encompasses all areas of medicine, as well as non-medical topics such as wellness. It is an amazing place to start when entering the foam world. The problem next becomes, how are you going to consistently check each of these sites in a timely fashion for updates? Are you really going to go to each website daily and find out if there's been a new post? This is where RSS feeds come in. RSS, or rich site summary feeds, are a one-stop shop to download feeds like a group of magazine articles. This can be used for the New York Times or for following your favorite medical education sites. An RSS app like Feedly allows you to flip through what you want, saving significant time and effort. Once you have signed up for a blog of interest, it auto-syncs or auto-populates so that there is no searching and it's ready for you whenever you open it. When starting out, I suggest you pick one or just a few feeds by searching foam in the search bar. Dedicate 10 minutes each day to checking your feeds and you will rapidly be alerted to new knowledge. The caveat to this is that if you add too many feeds early on, filter failure could work against you. Next, I'd like to talk about some resources that will allow you to stay up to date on the primary literature. Read by QxMD is an app that allows you to compile primary literature papers for your areas of interest. Simply sign up and click your areas, whether those are cardiology, nephrology, family medicine, palliative care, and you will then see the most read articles in that area. This is an excellent resource, but requires an institutional login, such as the U of C, in order to have access to the papers. Next, let's move on to the most popular form of digital media being used today, podcasts. Use a podcast app rather than downloading individual podcasts. Again, the new podcasts auto-populate once you've subscribed, and this is a great way to turn your commute into a classroom. Two of the best podcasts out there are EM Wrap and Primary Care Wrap, which are published monthly. They are both fantastic resources and cover about 3 to 4 hours of primary care and emergency medicine topics each month for an annual cost of about $400 US, so roughly $1 million Canadian dollars. They also publish shorter snappers and reviews throughout the month. For free podcasts, there's an amazing Canadian family medicine podcast called the BS Medicine Podcast by James McCormick and Mike Allen. This is great evidence-based family medicine published weekly. Dr. Mike Curlew also publishes an excellent family medicine podcast called the CU Lookout Podcast. There are also a few more fantastic Canadian podcasts in the EM realm, including Emergency Medicine Cases, the SGEM, and Crackcast. These podcasts all have different target audiences, with Crackcast targeted at the EM medical student / early resident level, going through every chapter of Rosen's Emergency Medicine, albeit on a superficial basis, while Emergency Medicine Cases is for the more advanced EM provider. I love EM Cases as it reflects the way in which we practice medicine in Canada, much more than something like EM Wrap does. There isn't nearly as much about medical legal cases and lectures on that. I must admit a conflict of interest as I podcast for the Skeptic's Guide to Emergency Medicine with Ken Milne. This is a weekly podcast where a specific clinical question is answered by critically appraising a journal article. We also often get the chance to discuss the article with the primary author. As for critical care, there are many podcasts out there, but the biggest critical care podcast is Scott Weingart's MCRIT. It's a great listen for anyone who wants to brush up on managing critically ill patients. Now that you have a feed aggregator for your websites and are listening to podcasts, maybe you'd like to interact day-to-day with the foam world and the content creators themselves. For this, Twitter is the answer. Twitter is a microblogging platform to share 280-character pearls and pictures or infographics. You can follow who you want to keep the signal-to-noise ratio high. Approximately 80% of blog and podcast producers use Twitter to promote their new posts. The best part of Twitter is that there is two-way flow of information. Unlike a textbook, you can interact with those producing the content by asking questions directly. Many Calgary emergency medicine providers and family physicians use Twitter daily. This could range from Aaron Johnston of the DLRI to our department head and researcher Eddie Lang, Assistant Dean of CME and CPD Sean Dowling, toxicologist lead Mark Urema, Program Director Catherine Patoka, and many more very active Twitter users. Say you're looking for another foam resource. You're not sure where to search. Google Foam or foamsearch.net is a custom Google created by Canadian Doc Todd Rain. This allows you to specifically search foam resources. So if there's one you've come across before but you can't remember exactly where it was, this is something you could use on shift. Speaking of on-shift resources, what about some for learning or teaching at the point of care? Some examples of these are the NNT, OrthoBullets, MD Calc, LacerationRepair.com, and the Spectrum app. Say you can't remember if a patient needs antivirals or steroids or both for a Bell's palsy. The NNT can be used to find this on the fly. It will tell you the number needed to treat and the number needed to harm for interventions across a variety of areas. OrthoBullets is great if you need to find out how to manage fractures of all kinds. Not sure what to buddy tape or how much angulation is acceptable for a metacarpal neck? This is the resource that all ortho residents use. And if you haven't done an ear repair in a while, LacerationRepair.com has amazing detail on repairing all types of lacerations. The Spectrum app was designed in Calgary and has local antibiogram data, information on antibiotics, pathogens, and guidelines. I use this on a regular basis. Similarly, if you need to calculate a heart score for chest pain or can't recall the PCARN rule for minor head injury in pediatrics, MD Calc is the place for you. Let's talk next about some local resources. The first resource that will be particularly helpful to family medicine providers is specialistlink.ca. It provides summaries on a huge range of topics from acute to palliative care and everything in between. Having only started around 2018, these topic summaries are very up to date. The site also provides information of what is needed for referrals locally, and you can directly contact subspecialist areas to get a call or email back. The AHS Primary Healthcare Resource Center and Learning Portal are built for continuing education for family physicians. There are resources on addictions and mental health, chronic disease management, and other areas targeted to the advancement of primary care. The CKCM knowledge topics on the AHS website are also a phenomenal resource for up-to-date information on a variety of topics. These are targeted more towards emergency and inpatient management, but are incredible evidence-based summaries. Finally, the Turning Research into Practice, or TRIP database, is also a fantastic resource that contains millions of full-text articles, systematic reviews, and medical images and videos. Now that you have many of these great digital resources, I also suggest you get Evernote or Microsoft OneNote to store your notes, articles, web pages for easy reference at a later time. These programs can both be installed on multiple devices and will allow you to quickly access those valuable resources that you have found, whether at home or at the point of care. I'd like to now talk a bit about quality. Ensuring quality is the most notable critique and caveat of FOAM-Med. Prior to discussing quality, the most important thing about FOAM to realize is that you have highly motivated, highly intelligent individuals or groups who are doing this for free. For the most part, these would be your very trusted colleagues who are creating FOAM resources. They could be working and make a lot more money. We have 3 groups in FOAM: the learners, teachers, and producers. Learners are the most vulnerable group using FOAM, as the knowledge foundation might be lacking. This is why as teachers we must learn about the resources and be able to guide our learners to appropriate ones. Every community of practice needs experts. Get online and you can help. The producers of FOAM have begun addressing the quality issue as well. One element of ensuring quality is the two-way flow of information, such as Twitter or just the ability to comment on a blog, which allows for FOAM producers to always be questioned. I would argue that FOAM resources are actually the most easily questioned educational tools. It is much more difficult to question the author of a journal article or a textbook than asking a question via Twitter or on a blog comments section. Another method of ensuring quality is by having attending physicians and program directors approve resources. Academic Life and Emergency Medicine created the Approved Instructional Resources, or AIR series, to help residencies struggling with evaluation of blogs and podcasts and other FOAM resources. This is a 9-person selection board of mostly US Emerge docs and program directors that selects online resources, and these have become available to all program directors. There are modules on most subspecialties that take anywhere from 3 to 10 hours to complete. There is then a post-use evaluative quiz. Over 125 residency programs and 1,200 emergency medicine residents are now using the ALIUM AIR resources and the ALIUM University. The METRIQ Group are a number of respected FOAM producers who have begun to address quality as well. To date, they have published 17 papers in the past 5 years trying to determine how tools such as the ALIUM AIR tool and the METRIQ tool compare to individual gestalt when reading a FOAM site. The bottom line is that the gestalt of a large group is good. Treat FOAM the way you would treat any other resource before you apply it to patient care. So in summary, use Feedly, podcast apps, and OneNote or Evernote to consolidate your digital resources. Use Google FOAM to search for FOAM resources on the fly. And use Twitter to directly interact with the FOAM community and stay on the cutting edge. Finally, evaluate digital resources the same as any other resource you use. So get out there, get active, and get engaged with the FOAM community.